Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of how to make a platform game in Unity. So last time we got our player moving left and right and jumping, and we managed to make it so these obstacles actually act as obstacles. Now there are a few things I want to do. One, I want to improve the designs of our sprites here, and two, I want to change the player's movement to add a bit of acceleration in left and right and make it so you can't instantly change direction when in midair. So prior to making this video, I already created our sprites, and here's the tiles we're going to use to create our levels. We have our scaffolding for special scenery, our background tiles, we have these spikes, and here are different stone faces. We have our stone bricks, cracked stone, and we have a face. Also, I decided to switch out the goalpost with this here torch that will be lit once the player reaches the end of the level and passes this object. I also have this little scene built to just show what can be done, and I decided to make it so our platform game here focuses on having interesting jumps and precise movement in order to get to the end of the level. And because of that, most of the stuff will be stationary except for stuff like this special kind of platform. And oh, I accidentally shaved it off, a piece off of it when I was on. Yeah, we're gonna have this cracked brick which could give way when you move over it. And we may add other sprites and stuff where we see fit. But for now, I think it would be good to work with these ones. Also, just one quick thing to note. There is a bug with the jumping mechanism that we created, where if you were to roll off of one collider onto another, that it would count as falling and you wouldn't be able to jump anymore. And the way we're going to circumvent that is by making it so each of these tiles that are connected together will have one collider. Like these three blocks will just be one collider. This one block will be one collider on its own, and so on. That way we don't have any oddities where the player can jump one moment and then can't the other. So now I'm going to export our sprites into Unity. Export. Okay, and here they are. So what I would like to begin doing after this, as I've said before, is to create a or modify the player movement in order to better suit what we want from our game. So what do I want is what I have to think about. And because I want the game to focus heavily on precise jumping, I want the player to accelerate to a certain max speed that takes a few blocks to get to, and then have a jumping mechanism that also allows the player to bounce, just to have some more interesting movement. So I'll work on these, importing these sprites. Actually, what I should be doing is setting it to a grid of 16 by 16 and then slicing it, because now everything is sliced. I do have to do some deleting and modification in order to get it to slice everything I need, but basically everything's here. So I'm just going to import and name these sprites. So now I've got the sprites imported, and before I start modifying the player's movements, I want to create a vertical slice, which is a scene that demonstrates basically how my game is going to look and play like. So I'm going to create a new scene, and let's name it vertical slice, or just slice. And here I would like to construct a scene that, or a level that the player can move around in. The way I'm going to bring the player that we created over is by turning it into prefab, which is done by dragging the hero from the hierarchy down into your assets window, and it creates this prefab that I can use in any of my scenes. And as you can see here, it is an exact duplicate of the player that I had in my other scene. And I can even do the same thing for the platform. And to do that, first I want to go and change this to the brick texture. Oh. So now that it has a brick texture, I can save it as a prefab and it'll look exactly how I want it to. Also gotta change the size of this collider because it's double of what it needs to be. Alright. Go back to game. The slice. And I'm just going to create a sketch. Also, here's a really unfortunate thing about this version of Unity, is that I'm going to have to place these platforms one at a time. Unity 5.4 is going to have a feature that allows me to paint these tiles onto the scene, which is going to be very useful when that comes out, but as it stands, there is no such feature, so it's going to be a while. And I'll come back when I'm done creating the scene. Well, actually, I'd like to demonstrate my workflow with how I would do this. So I'm going to create an empty game object. And in this, I am going to store a platform of different sizes. The way I'm going to do that is create a platform. So let's say I want 3 of these brick tiles connected to each other. And just make sure they're perfectly aligned. Yeah, that looks about right. And then I'm going to put my game object at the center of these these 3 platforms. And then just drag these. Oh, come on. Okay. And just click in all these, put it under the game object. Now I can just copy and paste this, and I got my platform. And the best part, I can just add the component, the box collider. Why isn't it showing? There's a problem, it appeared too low. Okay. Why is it doing that? So, we have this box collider, and I'm just going to adjust its position and its size to fit all the blocks. And now I can reuse this pretty much wherever. And I can do the same thing to create a 3x1, 5x1, whatever. And I really only have to do this thing for blocks that I intend for the player to land on, because there is that bug that makes it so the player can't jump. Like, if I were to go from here to here, for some reason I can't jump, and that's because the game thinks I'm not landed. I could jump if it's just considered as one platform. Anyway, that just about wraps it up for this video. Off camera, I am going to just create the scene that I have in mind, just to demonstrate how I want this game to play out, while I tweak the player's controls and create some camera movement. And once we have this vertical slice scene done, we can really start creating our own levels. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions about this video or suggestions for any future ones, please let me know, and I hope to see you in for the next one. Goodbye.